Hey guys, it's me James here, ready to talk about my first actually evaluation question, which asks the question about in what ways does your media product use, develop or challenge the conventions of real media products. So in order to do this particular question, I would need to talk about the conventions of real media products, which basically involve what current people making videos for music videos would use to try and promote or to try and make their film. So firstly, the first convention I use, which has become very, very common in short films which are used for media videos, is something which is an introduction. See, an introduction is used in order to try and depict a backstory to what I want to do. So, the short film I'm trying to make, I want to give it a bit of a backstory in order to show that people can understand the rest of the story, and that is why I put an intro into the actual story, because you can see, using an intro, but basically what I'm trying to do here is set the tone. It is used by many different other music videos, like it's used in Lady Gaga's Telephone, for example, or Justin Bieber's Where Are You Now. It is used all the way across all these sort of general genres, and it is used widely, and therefore is a way to try and set the tone to the story without starting music and without actually giving too much away. So I'll pause it here. First thing I want to say about is the indie style of the film. So, an indie style film is something which would follow the convention, so to speak, but it would also cross them all the time. Like music videos for indie music, they tend to be quite out of the ordinary, and they tend to be quite different and against conventions, and that's why I try to challenge the conventions in order to make something more memorable and interesting. So most indie bands want their music to be heard and want to be listened to, and in order to do that, they want to make something which makes the audience think, or shocks them. They'll do a range of different things to try and get more views for their music. And one way they can do this is by making something which is out of the ordinary and different and goes against the conventions of the time. So you see something here, by making it open with quite a romantic sort of scenario, it follows the general conventions. But as she opens the door, which she will do in 1 second, Fiona there opens the door and she screams. And we're like, what the hell's going on? Then you realise it is a wolf. So because it's a wolf and it's not a human, it instantly shows that it's not going to be that general, everyday, boy meets girl, they fall in love situation. I want to make something a lot different to that and something which has a bit more bite to it, pardon the pun. I want to make something which is more interesting and more memorable, because that's what an indie sort of band would do. And therefore we start the band, music, yeah. She screams, it's a plot twist. And now also, you can see from this that I'm using prosthetics. Now prosthetics is something used a lot more in current music videos. We want to try and use prosthetics in, I know Codeline had a good one with prosthetics, so did Fall Out Boy, which did in about 2005 with the antlers. Yeah, that is it's becoming more and more popular to use things like prosthetics in music videos. Because it gives the video a bit more flavour, it gives the video something a bit different, and it shows it's a bit more professional than it might look otherwise. So therefore, by using a prosthetic, not only do they make it look more realistic and more obvious it's a wolf, rather than using something like a mask, which I thought would look a bit lame, I wanted to use something which could make the actual video different, make it stand out, and make it more exciting as well. Because a good, realistic looking prosthetic would be far better than any sort of mask or paint or any sort of After Effects job I could do. So we'll continue the video, and you can see the Wolfman gets turned down, which again goes against the conventions, because conventions would say that the boy gets the girl, they go on a date and everything will be lovely. And that is why I'm trying to do in this opening, and of course by having an intro, it introduces the character completely. And then as the music starts, and we see the Wolfman walking down the road. And this is where I try to introduce humour into my piece. I want to introduce humour because another very indie sort of style in the boy's action. You see the boy throws a Coke can, and you also see him doing a sort of gesture at the Wolfman. And this is rude humour. And rude humour is a very common theme in indie music videos, because it shows meant for more teenage audience. And a teenage audience is something that they want to target, and therefore having this little rude humour, it really does highlight and scream out to them. So you see, he makes a sort of gesture, and you see him say a word, but you don't see him say the full words, because I thought it's the sort of thing, therefore, if a young person watches it, they might not understand what it means, but because it's not showing the full word, but it's showing a segment of it, if someone's watching it of, say, teenage years or older, they'll know exactly what's being said without saying the full word there. So therefore, by doing that, I'm able to, so it's almost like a little side to the audience of the age of what he's saying, rather than showing the whole thing. And then you see him all bike off, and then we go into what I've used, which is a montage. See, now montages, I think, are a very clever use of time. They're quite conventional, but they really, really do a good job of portraying that he's living a normal life, but can't because he's a wolf. See, I used random people. I want to basically show that he is different, but also that he is a wolf. So basically, by doing this, by having a range of shots which show shots of doing regular everyday things like trying on clothes, but then showing him being kicked out of shops, being disallowed job interviews through a montage, I'm really allowed to show that he tried to live a normal life, but it's made simply impossible by the society surrounded by. Also, by using, you might see a lot of people in here are quite random, like the busker man you saw there, you sort of shooed him away. That is completely random, almost. We actually discussed to him on the day, and we said, can you please be in our film? And people were actually lovely about it, which was really, really nice to see. People were really, really keen to help him, probably because he looked quite professional, because we had the prosthetic as well, and he was on there, and it looked very good. And so people were very, very keen to get involved, which was great. Yeah. So I'll pause it again quickly. One thing I'd also like to say is we also want to link how it talk about prejudice facing our society. A lot of indie bands nowadays would try and make something which means something. They want something to have purpose. Their videos will get more views again if their story has content, if there's actually got a bit of a purpose to the actual story. So therefore, by having a Wolfman, if you replace the wolf with a black member of society, it would cause outrage. But see, I want to leave it being quite light-hearted, and therefore I was able to depict the idea of prejudice in our society, because this Wolfman, he's got nothing wrong with him. He's 50% man, 50% human. The only real thing about him, which is wolfish, is the actual face. It's like a disfigurement. And therefore, by showing this through the piece, it shows this, the only thing different from him, from other people, is his face. His brain, his mind, his thoughts, his feelings are all exactly the same as a normal human being. And this is what was really interesting about this piece, for my opinion, because I want to try and depict a society where someone's being prejudiced. I want to make people think about that using rhetorical sort of questions and make them think about what they're seeing, but at the same time I want to keep it light and comical and humorous and not let them think, oh my god, this is so serious. I want them to take it with a pinch of salt. I want people to take it lightheartedly, and therefore it's like a very light sort of glimpse into this sort of society. And I'll continue it, and you can see here, you see Carl, who's one of the actors we talked to on that. He takes a glass. Now, many people might think that is just happened by accident, just happened by chance. No, we asked him to do that. Everything in this is directed, and even the people we had here were, a lot of people asked on the day, can you please help us out? We still made sure it was directed purposely, and made sure all our scenes had people in the background. We didn't want to have any scenes who had no people in the background, because we thought that would make the piece look unnaturalistic and unrealistic. And that's the last thing we wanted to do in our piece. We want to make a very naturalistic piece, which is realistic and represented a very, very realistic view. We want to make it as realistic as we possibly could. Well, I want to make it as realistic as I possibly could without it being taken seriously. And therefore, by having people in the background, it shows that it's a real-life scenario and that it's not abnormal or surreal. So this here, the sort of bit here, is a good use of how we made the music fit the film. So you might have seen on a lot of the parts of our film, it goes, the scenes change on the doots, on the beats, and that's something we really tried to do in our piece, because in my piece, because I really wanted it to basically to fit. You see a lot of videos where it doesn't really fit the music, and that was really frustrating for me sometimes. But I wanted to make sure this one really flowed nicely. It's had a lot of like sort of sudden beats in this song, and that's why I really wanted just to make it, to really take advantage of that and use that, and basically make scenes cut on those certain beats, and make it so the video really fit the music to the song itself, and rather than it seem like it's something completely detached, and it could be used with any video or any music. Now here, I want to show a chase scene. I used a chase scene here because I thought a chase scene is very common in short films nowadays and in music videos, and it's a really, really good way of introducing and incorporating more drama into your piece. So I really wanted to get more drama and make it more dramatic for a build-up at the end. And having this real big chase scene is a really good way to incorporate that drama and that tension. Because you see someone being chasing another person, and it makes it more exciting for the viewer to watch. And finally, I'm going to talk about how I don't want to have a happy ending. Now, the band itself are quite deep, and some would consider them to be emo, and therefore I want to make my video really fit with their band and their songs and their music. And by doing this, in doing this, I wanted to basically make it so I didn't leave a happy ending. And also it's linked back to the prejudice and the fact I was trying to send a message. And I really wanted it to go sort of almost from 0 to 100 really fast, and really just show off the fact that there is prejudice in our society. And by doing this, making a not a happy ending, I was really able to make it stick in people's minds. Like, one piece of audience feedback we got on the YouTube channel, they said that how much of a sad ending it was. And I really, really couldn't agree more. I want it to be a sad ending. I want people to think, wow. I want people to be hit hard by this at the end. And hopefully, I was able to do this. By having this here, this shot at the end, I was really able to make people think, wow. And maybe to people think that it's not all fun and games. And we can do serious stuff as well. And it really fit the conventions of that sort of emo, pop punk sort of genre, folk punk, etc. All that sort of genres, I would maybe incorporate that with what I was doing. I didn't want it to end happy. If I wanted to end happy, I'd make a song for pop music. But anyway, that is all the conventions and how I was able to use, develop or challenge them in my products. I hope you enjoyed this film, and thank you for watching, even though it's a long one. So thank you very much. See you again soon. Bye bye.